Hey, everybody, welcome to the Local Service Podcast, episode 21. And today we are going to talk about what I would do with a $1,500 budget per month. And the reason I want to have this podcast episode is because it's actually quite common, whether it's a new business or not, where people don't really know what to do with their money because there are so many options and so many different directions you can go and spend it, right? So, I was thinking about this the other day because, there's been many instances where current clients tell me that because they've done this stuff with us, they're getting all these new customers and they're very grateful and thankful that we've helped them out. But it's not really that. I want to discredit myself here a bit because the real win, right? We, Symphony Advertising, wouldn't exist if that business owner did not have the wherewithal. I don't know if that's the word. If they didn't have if they didn't take the risk, whether, again, if they've been in for a year, 5 years, 10 years, whether they didn't choose to use a marketing agency, whether that person decided to go down that route. So, yes, we have some say or some credit into getting people more customers, but we kind of do, but more credit goes to those business owners that choose, okay, I have $1,500 a month, where can I put it? I have $10,000 a month, where can I put it? I have $5,000 a month, where can I put it? So the budget is to each their own, right? And it's all relative. There are people that we've worked with that, $500 a month is a big deal. And then we have literally people spending $650 a day, and it's just regular. It's not even a big deal to them. So that's relative. The budget part doesn't matter. So in this case, you could scale this budget. But to wrap up that first thought, if you are a savvy business person, right? Let's say you've been in business for 1 year, or business 3 years, 5 years, some length of time. At some point, if you're a savvy business owner, Testing. If you're a savvy business owner, you're going to find out that the best ROI for putting money into a marketing channel and getting something back for local service-based businesses specifically, it's going to be digital. It's going to be either social media, it's going to be Google Ads, it's going to be SEO, it's going to be something along those lines. If I had to put if I had to bet the house on it, I would always put Google Ads first for local service-based businesses for reasons I've given in the past, which are, if it is need-based, okay? If it is, I have to solve this problem, Google Ads is your best bet. Perfect example. Let's say the wiring for your electricity breaks at your home. Probably using the wrong terminology. You have to get that fixed because the power to your house isn't being turned on. Or if there's a leak in your roof and when it rains, your whole inside gets wet. Or you have very, very bad toothaches and it hurts really bad. You're going to call somebody to get that solved. Or you've been in a car accident. You got to find a lawyer because it's not your fault. You're going to go online, you're going to Google something, you're going to find a solution for a service, okay? Specifically a service, because if it's something like a nice to have, it's what I call it. There's need-based, right? I don't know why I'm writing everything down. There's need-based, meaning it doesn't matter. They need somebody to help them out. You have to get that done. And then there's a nice to have. There's a nice to have angle or bucket. And a nice to have bucket is okay, I want a new wardrobe. What wardrobe is out there? I want something. I bought a jacket this weekend. It's a nice to have. I think I've gone my whole life without buying a jacket. Literally, I just have sweaters. And it's a nice to have. It's okay, where do I go get a jacket? I guess I'll go to the mall. But I'm not going to Google to search for the jacket. I'm either on social media or I'm on. I see somebody wearing it somewhere, but I'm not going to put it on Google Ads. So I bet the house on Google Ads when it's service based, for the most part. You might find situations where that's not the case, but I think 9 out of 10 times it's going to be your best bet. And so, okay, so there's Google Ads, there's social media. To wrap it up, a savvy business person is going to know that you're probably going to get your best bang for your buck here in the digital landscape. Things are trending that way. We might go full virtual AI. and it just might be a bunch of robots communicating with each other and doing transactions while we're like, wait a minute, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so whether you've been in business for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, when people get started with marketing, it's like, okay, how do we go about doing this? Okay. And so here's my little plan that if you're local service based, again, I got to keep putting that caveat, because if you try to do this and you're trying to sell the most, I don't know, the most courses for a class, this might not work. Okay. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to local services. So let's say you have $1,500 a month. Okay. Here's how I would go about it. I'm going to do 2 examples. The first example is for the new business owner that doesn't have anything. They are just getting started, with the caveat of saying they know what they're doing. They've been in the business for 10 years, right? But they're deciding to do it on their own, okay? If you are a new business owner and you don't know how, like, you've never worked in that field, you're just like, I want to try that. Probably a different plan, because there's going to be more that you have to learn, more ups and downs. There's going to be more, experience. Like, you need that experience in order to just jump into it. So for example, like me, like I was in it for 8-7 years, and then I was like, the whole time I was like, I could probably do this on my own. Like I could just probably do this on my own. And so then when I did it on my own, I was like, okay, I kind of get everything already, versus having to learn from scratch. It's a big difference. So I'm doing you're in business for 5-10 years, and then you're starting your business, right? You have experience, but you want to start your business. And then the other person is someone who's been in business for 10 plus years and still wants to start marketing. So the goal of this podcast is someone who wants to start marketing, but there's 2 personas. I think this is the right word. You have one person who is starting their business with nothing, no clients, no evidence. Let's call it evidence. There's no evidence that they do a good job, right? Like for us, we have, if they say, hey, have you ever made websites before? We could send you 100 websites we've done. Hey, do you guys know Google Ads? We could send them hundreds of thousands of dollars of ad spend that we've done in the last couple of years. If they specifically ask, have you guys ever worked with local service-based businesses? Like we have evidence for that, right? And so for a new business, if they haven't been in business, they don't have any evidence. So that is how I would kind of make the distinction between a business that is just starting off, no evidence, versus a business that's been in business, which has evidence. And so it'd be really cool if I had this on a whiteboard, right? And so the person who has evidence, it's a different context, because you can work off of different experiences. So like the person who's been in his business might know that, hey, our best customers come from this part of town, or our number one best selling services is this, or we sell a lot of A, but we really want to get more into B. So those kind of conversations don't happen with a new business. Typically with a new business, it's going to be something like, we just want people calling on the phone so that we can get the ball rolling, so we can get traction. Sometimes a business will come in and say, hey, we only want the high-end, high-ticket items that we make the most profit and the most money out of. We don't want all the smaller jobs. Let's hit it. And because they're a new business, they don't understand that the higher ticket items are harder to get, they're less frequent, and they cost more to get. So it's a different ball game. Like if you only have $500 a month, you're probably not good. It's probably not a good budget to get new customers for a high ticket item, because it requires $1,500 a month. Let's just say, for example. So those are some differences with the new business and a business that's been in business that wants to start marketing. I don't know why I set up 2 scenarios for myself. I just made this extremely difficult. Okay, so scenario 1. If I was a new business, no evidence, the first thing I would do is I would get a website, because a website is your home base digitally, okay? This is scaling it down or narrowing the lens to digital marketing. because you do have the option of printing out flyers. You do have the options of going to get business cards, passing them out. You do have the option of going and buying a billboard. You do have the option of going and getting radio ads. You do have the options of setting up a partner relationship with vendors who have customers that could be your customers, right? Think about like an accountant firm. All of them work with small businesses. If I go to the accountant firm and say, hey, if you refer me work, I will give you $1,000 per referral that you give me. That is another way of using that money. I could give the money to influencers and say, hey, I wanted to go through a TikTok strategy and I'll pay every influencer who gives a shout out $250. So my point is there's a lot of ways you can use the $1,500. I'm saying if I were to narrow it down to digital marketing, I would go with the website, because a website, that's your home base. A website, I think people, including myself, by the way, we highly underestimate what a website means to the world. A website is where people go to find out general information, where they find out who you are, what you do, where you're located, when you operate, what services you provide, how they can contact you. It's very like simple stuff, but it is, without that information, it makes it really difficult for that potential customer to reach you. And so the reason I would build a website first is because you have to have that at one point or another. And I believe that it is a smarter idea just to get that done and move forward. Because a website, you probably don't have to update for 3 to 5 years, to be honest. You might have to edit like your pricing and maybe some of your services. Maybe update every couple of years that you moved or whatever. But for the most part, a website for local service-based businesses is not going to change too much. And if it is, that's probably an issue within itself. So it probably isn't going to change too much. So like, in my opinion, you get that set up and you move on. Then you can focus on the marketing. So we actually call it a website phase, right? 4 to 6 weeks. And then, or however long. And then you go into the marketing phase where you're bringing traffic to that website to book new customers. And with that being said, the reason I would want the website is because you can get all the information you need, right? But before that, let me take a step back. Let's say the website cost you $6,000, right? Let's just say it does, because your business is flashy and you gotta have like a super nice website. Let's just say, I don't believe that to be the case, but for this example, just hear me out. Let's say it's a $6,000 website, right? So you might say, okay, well, you only have $1,500 a month. How on earth are you going to get a $6,000 website done? And my point here is that or rather, in my experience, I have found, and I think this goes generally across all aspects of being alive, is that if you will take the approach of the long game, right? So having patience, you will benefit faster in the long run. I got to write that down. You benefit faster in the long run. Because what ends up happening, if you want to play the fast game, so if you want to benefit in the short term, you cut a lot of corners. And I'm not saying that you need the $6,000 website to get started. You could probably start with a Squarespace site that you pay $25 a month, that you set up on your own. Good design, very simple. You can do that, okay? Many situations, but I'm giving you the best situation I can think of. So when you're playing the slower game, where you're like, okay, it might take me a year to get this launched off, like the new business or the new marketing plan, and that's why people hire people like us, because like, we get it done pretty quick. It's not going to take a year. But let's say this is the business specifically, not talking about me, or running advertising services. When you play the longer game, it's better to take the time to get it done right, to learn about it, learn about WordPress, learn about the plugins, learn how the booking system works, learn how call tracking works, learn how SEO set up, learn how people navigate through your site. Just learning, like, it takes time. You're not just gonna figure it out. If it was the business doing it, like 10 out of 10 times, it's gonna be beneficial in the long run. Because what ends up happening is we get Band-Aid solutions from the beginning. So this happens quite often, is it just happened today, is people will set up websites and marketing campaigns and spend money with sites and campaigns that were built for speed. And when you build them for speed, because even the good campaigns take time to figure out, when you build them with speed, it's the most it has the highest probability of wasting the most money. So while you can get traffic to your site as fast as possible, it's going to be the one that wastes the most. And it's very easy to see if you know what you're looking at. So, for example, if you start a Google Ads campaign and you say, I don't care, I want to spend $100 a day, I want as many people to my website as possible that I built on this poorly designed site because I took 2 hours to build, and screw it, that's good enough. Again, there's nothing wrong with like starting, but if you leave things the way they are, they will continue to be bad and they will make matters worse over time. But if you start it in small increments, like every month you make it a little bit better, then of course it's going to work out. But again, what I've seen is businesses will set up these campaigns and these websites that they're just money wasting machines for yourself, and they're Google Ads making machines, right? Because Google Ads, local service ads, any kind of ad platform, Facebook ads, even any kind of thing, like they will take your money. Like if you say I have $100 that I want to spend per day, will you take it? Marketing channel, the marketing channels will be like, absolutely. They will not. They're not going to tell you no ever. Like why would they? It's on the responsibility of the advertiser to make sure that campaign is good. It's the responsibility of the web designer or the web developer or the web team or the web agency to make sure that website is functioning correctly, because the advertiser isn't going to be like, hey, we're not going to run these ads until your website's ready. No, they're going to spend it as soon as you push go. And so taking the approach that it's a long game, and what I'm getting at is, back to that $6,000 website example, I would have rather waited or slowed down expectations and said, okay, if it's going to take $6,000 to make this website, then we'll do it in 4 months. We'll do it in 4 months. Like, there's no need to rush all this stuff if you're playing the long game, right? Because that way, by the 4th month, you have a very solid, strong, functionally designed, great performing, technically sound website. And you won't have to worry about it as much. It's like, it's done. We can move on to the marketing phase. And then you're good. So my point is, don't skip too many corners. Like, again, you can start things fast. Say you get a Wix site, costs you $30 a month. I think they have like auto-generated sites. So you could say, hey, I'm in the landscaping business. You put that and it'll like generate the whole thing for you. But it's like, you can tell it's not feels like a robot. Like the website feels like a robot. And so that is typically what happens. So step 1, whether it takes you a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, it's probably too slow. I would get a website if I had $1,500 a month. So 1 to 3 months, let's say, that's probably because like some of these businesses, for example, the ones that have been in business with Evidence for 10 plus years, like they're going to spend a lot more on a website than someone who is getting started, just because they have more information. They know their customers. So for example, I'm all over the place today. If you came and said, hey, I am starting a landscaping business, I just want customers. That's all I could tell you. I have no idea. I'm new to this. I understand the business because I did it for 5 years working somewhere else, but I want to do it my own. I'll take whatever. Scenario 1. Scenario 2, business been in 10 years. They might come and say, okay, we primarily work with people in the northwest side of Houston. Primarily, while we do residential, our real bread and butter is with commercial. And within the commercial landscape, the commercial realm, we also really do well with schools. So we would like to set up, this is called positioning and branding. We would like our website to reflect what we do, which is we focus on schools in the northwest part of Houston with landscaping and involves these services. And so there, you're not just building a site to say, hey, we do landscaping. There, you're building a site that's specifically positioned to help bring in more of that type of work. And you have more scenarios, right? You could say, we worked with this school, this school, this school, this school, this school, this school. This is how we helped them. These are services we did. Here are pictures. So not always, but a lot of the times, businesses that have been in business for a while, they'll have more. For example, like there's a clinic we work with. They don't have a website, not really, right? But they sell stuff already. So they're not just a clinic. They're a clinic / store. And so when we make their site, it's not just a come get services with us. It's a come get services with us, or you can buy some of our products. And then it turns into like, well, if we could sell them online, because they only sell out of their clinic, it turns into like, okay, well, we don't have to sell it online. We can actually sell it anywhere in the United States. And then it gets crazy because then you have to make decisions like, okay, do we want to target the United States? Because it's pretty aggressive. Like, we're going to have a very sound strategy. Why don't we start with Houston? From Houston, we go to Texas. From Texas, you know what I mean? And so that would be my first route. I'm going to run out of time. We're just going to call this what I would do the first 1 to 3 months. Second phase is, depending on where you are, you should know this answer already. Once it's time you're finished with your website, you're finished getting that up and ready. Now it's time to start marketing. So let's say you have $1,500 a month. Where do you put it? And I have 2 scenarios. And I just got off the phone with a realtor, and this is why I'm making this episode, is because she called and asked, hey, what do I do? Like, where do I focus? And it's interesting because I forget that, you know, when you're in a world, like, this is my world. I understand the world. I look at something, I'm like, this is what that person should do. Or I know that strategy doesn't work over there. Well, they're, like I mentioned earlier, like, it takes time to get to that solution. Like, through trial and error, you will find out that X is good, Y is not good, Z might be okay, as far as marketing trends go. And so there's 2 scenarios you can go when it comes to how you want to spend $1,500 a month on advertising if you're a local service business. So one is Google search. I can't stop saying that to people. People will actually come and say, hey, we want to do Facebook ads. And I'll be like, hey, that's great. Let's do Google ads first. And if it doesn't work out, we'll do Facebook ads. Because in my experience for local service-based business, I don't know how else to explain this. Someone has a problem. Imagine when you have a problem. What do you do? If you know somebody who can solve your problem, then you'll call that person. If you don't, most likely you're going to go to Google. Most likely. Sure, you might use Bing. But for the most part, I think 80% chance you'll go to Google and you'll look up, I have a problem. Not that. You'll look up someone who can help me with this problem near me, or business that can help me in Houston. I'm blanketing the terms, but that's what you're going to do if you're a local service-based business. It might be the situation where you understand, or we understand, that that is the best place for that type of service, but it might be too competitive, or there's not enough search volume, or it is flooded with cheap. This sometimes happens where, let's say you sell a $100 service, example, but everyone else is selling it for $20, and so you get buried within that. So like sometimes it's not the best place to go, but it is the first place I look at. So Google search. I almost won't take work on if we don't try this first. So that's scenario 1. Within Google, this is like 1.2. So that was Google search is 1. And then 1.2 would be local service ads. And local service ads only pertain to a couple of industries. So like if you're in real estate, if you're a real estate agent, if you're an electrician, if you're a lawyer, if you're like certain kinds of doctors, if you're a carpenter, if you're a certain kind of, it's like home services type, where a face is involved, like you're working with somebody specifically. Those are really good because it's set up different. I'm not going to get down into how it's different structure-wise as far as pricing goes, but a lot of times Google ads might be too competitive. Like there's too many big players in the area, and local service ads is a good way to get a mix of both worlds where you're still in search, but it's a different way. So anytime you see Google guaranteed on an ad, That is what a local service ads is. Local service ads is. And so this applies, again, to certain industries, but that would be like, if you can't do Google search, do local service ads, or it might be the case that you're better off doing local service ads versus Google search. But honestly, the best scenario, if you have the budget for, which you can with 1,500, you could do $750 on search and $750 on local service ads. So very simple strategy. Go Google search or local service ads, or both. Play around there for the following 10 years. Pretty sure it's going to be there. It's not going to change too much. Maybe not 10. For the year, we'll readjust our knowledge on how it's performing. But for the most part, that's where I would say, if you have $1,500, use it there. What's that? 11,000 something for the year. Okay. And then the other option, which is, I mean, everybody's familiar with, is social media. And social media is good. For local service-based businesses, it's a little bit, in my opinion, it's more of the second channel. It's the second wave of marketing. So if you have your Google search and Google ads running well and you're ready to add on an additional channel, I would add Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, stuff like that. But, and this is okay, but it's not, it's more of a retargeting tool, in my opinion. It's more of an awareness tool. So you'll keep people top of mind. So if you are a landscaper and you keep up coming up in the Houston area for cool landscaping jobs you did, then at some point, maybe one of those schools, someone an admin that works at that school will keep seeing these posts and say, you know what? I don't like my lawn guy, our lawn contract people. Let's try these guys out. Like, it's a different situation. It's a different scenario. But I would say this is a very good spot to be. Obviously, like, that is what the last, 6 years have been anyways. And I would try that out. But that in a nutshell is my plan. Build a website, do Google search or local service ads. If those are just not in your realm, do social media. With any of these, the cool thing is that all these actually work. Like they work. Everything works. If I heard this the other day, there's like studies done on diets and like which ones are good for weight loss specifically, not like being a high endurance athlete or become the strongest or retain the most muscle, for specifically weight loss. And it was like, which one out of these 10 is the most effective without the parameter or the variety of, like, if you have some kind of disease or if you're allergic to stuff, just if everybody was the same. And the answer was, out of those 10 diets, they all pretty much work. The only thing that mattered was being consistent. As long as you were consistent with any one of those diets, you would lose weight. And so the same applies to this stuff. Like, they work. They work. They flat out work. It's not like nothing special about it. It's not magic. It's just taking the time to learn them, adjust them so that they actually work, and continuing the improvement of that process. That's it. It's not that crazy. And so that is what I would do with $1,500 a month if I was a business. Episode 21. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you guys on the next one.